So tell me about naltrexone.
Naltrexone is a drug that works by sitting on the places in your brain where heroin sits. And if naltrexone's sitting there, there's nowhere for heroin to go, which means if you use heroin, you don't feel anything. Sounds wonderful, and when naltrexone was first released, we thought it might solve all the problems that were related to heroin users, because here was a drug that made heroin a waste of time. Unfortunately, of course, you have to take the tablet. And for many people, they don't want to take a drug that's going to stop them getting stoned because they want to get stoned. So actually the truth is with naltrexone, if you start 100 people on naltrexone today who have got a heroin problem, in 6 months, only 4 or 5 of them are still going to be taking it. So naltrexone works if you take it every day. And I suppose the people who do best on naltrexone are those people who have got a very strong motivation to remain clean. That might be as part of a court diversion program, but it might be if you've got someone who loves you who's going to give you that naltrexone every day. Now, there are some other problems with naltrexone. It can cause problems for your liver, which can be an issue if you've got hepatitis C. It can cause kind of stomach upset for quite a few people. But the real risk and the thing that worries doctors is if you've been taking naltrexone for a while and then you suddenly stop, your tolerance to opiates is just gone. And one of the reasons that people stop taking naltrexone is so they can go off and use. And what sometimes happens is people stop naltrexone, they wait 24 or 48 hours, and they go out and they use too much, and they overdose, and they die. And that's something that we obviously never want to happen. The other sorts of problems you can sometimes get with naltrexone is when naltrexone is given to people too soon after they've stopped using heroin or methadone. And if you take naltrexone when you've still got opiates such as heroin or methadone floating around your system, you will go into the most dreadful withdrawal. And while naloxone or Narcan lasts for 40 minutes, naltrexone can last for 24 hours. So if you experience withdrawal because you've taken naltrexone when you've got opiate drugs on board, get yourself to a hospital. Recently, there's been quite a lot of information in the news about naltrexone implants. Naltrexone implants are an off-market, not yet legally authorized preparation of naltrexone that we put under the skin. The advantage of that is that once it's popped under the skin, it's pretty much going to stay there for the next 3 to 6 months. And while it's there, that naltrexone pellet is going to be releasing naltrexone into your blood system, and during that time, you probably won't be able to use heroin very effectively. The problems with this have been, unfortunately, 1, people sometimes try and cut them out themselves. 2, they sometimes get them put in too early when they've still got opiates and withdrawal, and they end up in dreadful withdrawal. And I've seen 3 people end up in ITU, intensive care units with renal failure, who have had naltrexone implants, but they weren't put in at the right time with enough supervision. And the third thing is if you've committed to taking a drug in a particular form that means you cannot use heroin, for some people that means they'll find another drug of choice. And it's certainly the case that some people on implants have chosen to find intoxication with drugs such as amphetamines or benzodiazepines. As yet, I don't think there's enough evidence, and they're not widely available through the public system. And I think in years to come, perhaps it's something that we'll use more frequently.